All right, welcome everybody. Thanks for being here. So this is one of probably many live streams that we'll do. I've been talking about this for a little while now. So what I wanted to do today was to do live Q&A. This will be, so I've got kind of a few things set up here. I was live on Instagram, put out some feelers. So the questions might come from social media as well. But yeah, so I just kind of wanted to open it up, do a quick little session here. This is more of a test too for YouTube. So I've finished my book, published it this summer, Caveman, a Philosopher. I've been going on a bunch of podcasts and doing interviews talking about my book. And it's been great. It's been fun. I've really enjoyed going on the podcast and doing these interviews and getting to talk about my book, getting to talk about my experiences and some of my philosophies and stuff like that. What I want to do with this book though is it's only 110 pages. It's pretty short. I just wanted to create something that was tangible, something that people could get their hands on and help them on their path, help them get through their life, whatever they've got going on. People can relate to my story, right? Like, not everybody was in the military, but everybody has had some kind of experience with trauma and anxiety and depression. Everybody has. Anybody can get PTSD from anything. And I've talked about that on all these podcasts that I've been on, is that, even a bus driver, driving to work can get PTSD, can get some kind of problem. And it's not so much about that or anxiety or depression. Like, we're all going to experience them. The question is, what are we going to do with it? What are we going to do about it? We have to make decisions for ourselves that we want to live a better life, that we want to have joy. And then the question is, how do we get that joy? What do we do to get there? And I think that the most important thing is learning that all of it is a practice, right? Happiness is a practice. And if you're not practicing happiness, you're setting yourself up for failure. You really need to learn how to make yourself happy, not for anybody else, but just for yourself, right? The only acceptable means of selfishness is when it comes to your own happiness. You do have to be selfish in that regard. You got to learn how to be accepted by yourself. It's just one of the biggest things that we're missing, and that includes forgiveness, right? So it's going to be hard to be happy and to have a good, fulfilling life if you're caught up on something that happened in your past and you're not forgiving yourself for it. So forgiveness, compassion, and happiness, and guess what? All three of those takes practice. That's a point in my book that I try to make. You just got to learn, and nobody tells you that, right? Like, when I was growing up, nobody told me that I had to practice being happy. Nobody told me I had to practice, this way of life. It was just like, just what you do. You just go out and every day, that's what you do. But that's hard for people, right? Especially right now, especially like the last 2 years dealing with the pandemic and everything. It's hard to practice happiness genuinely when you don't even know that you can, and you don't even know what to do, right? But right now, like now that people are back to work and out of quarantine, people are having a hard time staying happy because they're working, they're going to school, while also simultaneously dealing with this like level of trauma that we just experienced in the last 2 years. And everybody's not okay. Some people are okay, but not everybody. And it's okay to not be okay. I think that, again, this is the part of like learning how to forgive yourself. It's cool to not be okay. That's where all of this matters. And then learning how to deal with it, right? The practice. So something that I did for myself and I talk about in the book is like writing, like journaling, right? I would write down things that made me happy, things that I wanted to do in the day, or maybe even something I wanted to eat, or a TV show I wanted to watch. Doing more of that makes it a habit, and then it becomes okay, right? When you've got free time, how many of you sit there and you're thinking like, oh my God, I've got all this free time. I shouldn't be just sitting here. I need to go do something. I need to go be somewhere or do something. That's anxiety, right? Like, that's an extreme level of anxiety where you can't even sit down and be happy with yourself. You're just like over the top. And a lot of us have it, but we're not aware of it. And this is another problem that I bring up in the book, is like having a level of self-realization or self-consciousness. So when you get there, and it happens to people on, all kinds of different bases. Some people it happens naturally. Some people they're born that way. And then some people have to go through really traumatic experiences to get to that level of self-realization. My book isn't going to make anybody enlightened. My book isn't going to wake anybody up. My book is just going to give you a few of the missing puzzle pieces that you can use in your everyday life to kind of get you back to where you need to be. That's the truth. The truth is, nobody can make you enlightened. Nobody can force anything on you. It's all about you, right? So I talked about this on TikTok, right? I made a TikTok about this, talking about the Matrix, and one of the things talking about in the Matrix is the idea of Morpheus and Neo when they have that initial conversation, and he's saying like take the red pill or the blue pill, and that's me, right? I'm not Neo, I'm Morpheus, and I'm offering you something. Do you want to be free, or do you want to keep doing the same thing that you've been doing that doesn't feel right? That's the thing I think collectively we all have in common, is that everybody feels like this isn't right, like something's not right. We're not living the right way. Something just feels off. So this is the key. Do you want to be free, or do you want to keep living this way? The red pill or the blue pill? I'm offering it to you. I can't force you to take it. I can't ask you to take it. You have to want to do it on your own. And that's the biggest key with all of this is, do you want to be free, or do you want to keep living in the dream that you've been living in? And for some people, it just happens, right? Like it's not even about a choice. Some people like me, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. It just started happening. All these weird things, all these weird synchronicities, um, these weird ideas and these meditations I was doing, all of this stuff just started happening. And that's what woke me up. And I was just like, whoa, this is crazy. Like I'm feeling things and seeing things that shouldn't be possible, but here I am, and and then once I kind of got a grasp on what all of that was, that's when I wanted to write a book about it. And unfortunately, I was having to write the book during COVID, during the lockdown and all of that. So it was hard. It was challenging because I didn't know what was going on. I was feeling all these things and having all these wild thoughts. But inevitably, I came out of it. And that's what happens to all of us. We're all going through a transition phase. We're all going through like an awakening phase. So a bunch of questions that I get all the time, whether it's on social media or in podcast interviews, a lot of the questions that I get asked are, what was your time like in the military? And, if you've watched any war movie, you get a front row picture to it. That's what it is. Now, I would be lying if I said my military experiences was like the movie American Sniper with Bradley Cooper. Not like that. It had its moments. I was in combat for some things, but it's like 1% of the entire time that you're there. I was in Afghanistan for a year, and the crazy stuff was only 1%. The rest is just pure boredom and going crazy because you don't know what's happening and you don't know when you're going to get attacked or if you're going to get attacked. You're worried about people back home. Your mind is just going crazy. It's not great. And you're trapped. For me particularly, I was trapped in our little compound in the middle of nowhere. I wasn't on a big base like some people were. I was literally out in the middle of nowhere on this like sand castle kind of thing. And, it's hard to keep sane. It's hard to keep your sanity when you're doing that. Another question I get asked is like, what practices do I do? Meditation, journaling, self-reflection. So meditation, everybody knows about, but I think that the key with that is, how are you meditating? Everybody asks me like, is there a certain practice that I do? No, there's not. I practice the same way that I started, which was just sitting and just letting things happen. I don't focus on anything. I mean, sometimes I can, like I do. It's different, like I don't think there's one proper way to meditate. Sometimes I'm meditating to just be in stillness and relax. And then other times I'm meditating to try to connect with something outside of myself, something bigger, something more profound. Sometimes I want answers, sometimes I think that if I can get deep enough, there will be answers waiting for me. Sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. But it's not about how you're doing it or what type. Just do it. Just sit and be quiet. This is the number one thing I tell people about meditation. Meditation's hard. For anybody that says I can't meditate, and I always ask, like, why can't you meditate? And it's always because I can't sit still for that long. Okay, well, that's your problem. That's your first problem, is you can't sit still for that long. That's like the like signature of anxiety, of like hardcore anxiety, is not being able to sit still, not being able to relax. If that's you, you need meditation, because meditation is going to help you learn how to do that. Learn how to just sit and be quiet and relax, right? Not just your body, but your mind, your nervous system, all of it. It's perfect for that. I mean, honestly, it's the biggest thing. It really is the biggest thing. Journaling is great, but journaling isn't going to help you if you're always anxious. It's not going to help you if you don't know how to sit still and be calm. Self-reflection is good, because you could kind of wrap that into meditating. But what I did, especially during the pandemic and the lockdown, was I would sit there and I would play music, and I would just have my headphones on and kind of just be in my own little world, and I have my notebook in front of me. What I would do is, for 30 minutes, I would try to write down every thought I had. Didn't matter what it was. I just tried to write down my thoughts. And then when I was done with that, I would go and put a plus or minus next to it, whether it was positive or negative. And you would be surprised how many negatives there are, right? I mean, it really should seem obvious, but for me, I was blown away. And so then each time I would do it, I would see, like, this is your indicator. This is how you can judge whether or not you're in a good place or not. You're not going to be able to fix it while you're doing that. Like, if you try to force yourself to think happy thoughts, it's not really going to work, and it kind of defeats the purpose. What you want to do is you want to be as honest as possible in this reflection period. Now, going through your day, from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed, that's when you can impact your thoughts. If you catch yourself, this is part of self-realization. If you catch yourself having negative thoughts, change the way you're thinking, change the way that you see things. And I promise you, if you can do that throughout the day, the next time you go to do some self-reflection, you will see a change. You will see positive thoughts coming in. And that's it. Those are the biggest things that I would offer people. And those are the things that I get asked in these interviews and get asked on social media all the time, is these biggest things. But I want to do more. I'm going to write more books. I'm still doing my 2 podcasts, and I'm doing podcast interviews all the time. So if you're interested and you want to get to know me, or if you've got questions, leave them down in the comments. Reach out to me on social media, wherever. Follow me on TikTok, because I'm going to do some big things there. My goal there is to get 1,000 followers so that I can go live. And once I go live, I'm going to read chapters of my book on TikTok. So if you're interested in that, go follow me there. It's just my name, Cameron Harmon. But thanks, everybody, for being here, for checking in, and on the live Instagram and social medias too. Everybody that stopped in there too, appreciate it. But we'll do more of these. I just appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. We'll catch you next time.